Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. We continue to take a look in on the confirmation hearings of Amy Coney Barrett. Yesterday went very, very well. Republicans had to be happy. Democrats had to be Democrat senators did not look happy yesterday. They got nothing. They just don't. And joining us on the phones right now, a former Notre Dame Law School student and a former student of Amy Coney Barrett, Chase Giacomo, on the Chad Hasty Show today. Chase, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. It's great to have you on. I guess first thing that I'll ask you, how do you feel, and how cool is it to see your former professor, and I know someone who is a mentor of yours, to be going through this process right now for the U.S. Supreme Court?
Yeah, it's exciting to see, but I think mostly it's just exciting for myself and for the country. I think knowing this person who is just a renowned constitutional law scholar, I think that's widely accepted, but I think just such a great person, and watching her, go through this process and just have such class and not weighing into the political bickering and just, standing firm and all that. I think it's just exciting to watch, and I couldn't think of a better person to represent the country on the Supreme Court. So it's been exciting that way.
Most people probably, before the last couple of weeks had never heard of Judge Amy Coney Barrett. And even during this confirmation hearing, they're not getting into who she is really. I think everyone, if you're honest, everyone has seen the brilliance that she has. Who is she? But kind of the behind the scenes. What is the story of Amy Coney Barrett that versus maybe not what everyone has seen so far?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. So I wrote an op-ed kind of trying to outline some of this, and what I highlighted in that is when I showed up to law school, I was a little bit older than most students. I had just been a platoon leader in Afghanistan. I was married with kids, and so just kind of in a little bit of a different demographic. And during my first year of law school, I was, kind of felt like a fish out of water because of those reasons. I was dealing with some injuries from my time in service. And Judge Barrett really just, I had met with her during her office hours, which is a time where you can meet with your professors to kind of go over coursework. And I was just shocked with how interested she was beyond just teaching law, about who I was, my wife, my life in Montana. And through that, she kind of helped me strategize and work through and kind of come up with a game plan for that year. And then just over the years, after that, she just continued to be a mentor for my wife and I. And as we, started this adoption process that we're going through right now, we knew that she had adopted two orphans from Haiti. And so we reached out to her. And here you've got this mom of seven on the Seventh Circuit, as busy as a person can be. And she just overwhelmed us with resources and information and just pouring herself out. And what was, I guess, is interesting is that I don't even feel like I'm that unique in that I saw her form meaningful relationships with everyone around her, with students, with faculty. And it just seemed that she cared so much about people beyond just teaching. And I think, her scholarship and her work in constitutional law is, like you said, it's widely accepted as being one of the most brilliant minds of our time. But I think what's missed a lot of times is just how high character this person is and how she really tries to impact those around her selflessly. So that, I would say she strives for excellence, but she's just one of the most loving and caring people I've personally ever met.
That's wonderful. It's a great story, and I think it shows. It's another example of who she is. And I think that, to me, that sort of does come across that, she's a very personable person, that she doesn't, hold herself, to, I mean, she could hold herself. I'm better than, all these other people. But I mean, she doesn't do that. She seems like she's very accessible and easy to talk to, and that people really do genuinely like her. as a person.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, from the moment that I first encountered her in law school, I had heard a lot of stories about how prominent she was and, kind of this leading scholar. And I'm continually amazed at how of a real person she is, how down to earth, and how she's willing to just be selfless and help people, because that's not the norm. I've interacted with a lot of other I'd say renowned scholars or professors, and often once they're done teaching, you can't find them until the next class. And so to have someone who just really goes the extra mile when she really doesn't have to is extraordinary. But I think that's what Judge Barrett is extraordinary.
Yeah. Before we let you go, taking what you know about her and what you just kind of told the audience about her, when she's on the court, and I mean, it looks like the Republicans have the votes to put her on the court. What do you think she'll bring to that seat?
I think she brings definitely a standard of excellence. I think that, she's very good at, really, she said in her opening statement, she puts herself in the shoes of the parent of the losing party and makes sure that her rationale and her reasoning is fair and one that they can understand. So I think there's a great level of compassion and a commitment to fairness. And then I think just, this idea of being a textualist or an originalist, meaning that, she's focused on the text and what it meant to the people who wrote it and not her own opinions, not her own, purpose. And so I think that that's a great thing. I think it helps keep the separation of branches in check. You don't have a legislator sitting on the judiciary because we don't vote for her. And then I think it leads to predictable outcomes. We don't want one judge that thinks that this is what the law should be in this jurisdiction and another judge in this jurisdiction thinks that this is what the law should be. And, that would be inconsistent, and inconsistent justice isn't fair. And so I think we'll have a commitment to fairness and making sure that she's not making up the law on what she wants it to be, but what it is written as, because that's what we voted for, and that's what went through the House and the Senate and approved by the president. So I think those are kind of key things about her that we'll expect. But I think overall just a standard of excellence and a commitment to being a judge and not a policymaker.
Yeah. Chase, appreciate your time today, and we appreciate you giving us some insight on Judge Amy Coney Barrett, and we thank you for giving us a call.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's Chase Giacomo here on the Chad Hasty Show, former Notre Dame law school student of Amy Coney Barrett when she was a professor over at Notre Dame.